Jerusalem falls under the weight of Babylonian power. Sacred vessels are carried away. Young men from Judah are taken from their homeland and marched into the center of a foreign empire. To the watching world, it looks as though Babylon has won, and the God of Israel has been silenced. That is the crisis at the heart of Daniel. What does faith look like when God's people lose their city, their king, and their familiar world? Who truly rules when pagan thrones seem unshakable and covenant hopes appear buried under imperial stone? The book of Daniel answers that question with steady conviction. Empires rise, boast, threaten, and collapse. But above every palace, furnace, and battlefield stands the living God, whose wisdom cannot be outmaneuvered and whose kingdom cannot be broken. Daniel begins in the early days of exile, when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, besieges Jerusalem and carries off members of the royal family and the nobility. Among them are Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, young men selected for service in the court. Babylon does not merely want their labor, it wants their imagination, their speech, and their future. They are taught the literature and language of the Chaldeans. They are given new names tied to Babylonian gods. They are offered the king's food and expected to become useful servants of the empire that conquered them. This is how domination often works in Daniel, not only through violence, but through slow reshaping. In a polished court filled with opportunity and pressure, these exiles must decide whether they will be absorbed into Babylon's story or remain anchored in the God who brought their fathers into covenant. Before Daniel ever faces a public trial, he makes a quiet decision. He resolves that he will not defile himself with the king's food and wine. The refusal is not loud or theatrical. It is deliberate, respectful, and costly. Daniel asks for permission to eat differently, trusting that obedience matters even in the details no empire considers important. God honors that hidden faithfulness. Daniel and his friends are found healthier than the others, and beyond physical strength, the Lord gives them learning, skill, and wisdom. Daniel is granted insight into visions and dreams. That pattern matters. In this book, faithfulness does not begin when the music plays before the idol or when the lions are already waiting. It begins in the ordinary place where conscience is tested and compromise first appears reasonable. Long before Daniel speaks to kings, he has already learned that wisdom is received, not seized, and that holiness can survive even inside the machinery of empire. In Daniel 2, the crisis moves from the private table to the throne room. Nebuchadnezzar is troubled by a dream so severe that he demands not only its interpretation, but the dream itself. His wise men are helpless. Babylon boasts of secret knowledge, but when the king asks for truth, its sages are exposed. Daniel answers differently. He does not claim brilliance for himself. He asks his friends to seek mercy from the God of heaven. And in the night, the mystery is revealed. The dream is of a towering statue, head of gold, chest and arms of silver, middle of bronze, legs of iron, and feet mixed with iron and clay. Kingdom follows kingdom, brilliant yet fragile, mighty yet passing. Then comes a stone not cut by human hands. It strikes the statue, breaks the kingdoms, and grows into a mountain filling the whole earth. Daniel's message is not merely that empires change names. It is that history is not finally governed by kings, armies, or succession plans. God removes kings and sets up kings, and his kingdom does not arise from human ambition. It endures because he establishes it. Daniel 3 shows what happens when empire demands worship. Nebuchadnezzar builds an image of gold and commands every people, nation, and language to bow when the music sounds. The order is public, ceremonial, and absolute. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refuse. Their defiance is not rooted in political rebellion, but in covenant loyalty. They will not give to an image what belongs to God alone. When threatened with the furnace, they answer with one of the clearest confessions of faith in Scripture. Our God is able to deliver us, but even if he does not, "We will not serve your gods." That is the courage of faithfulness without bargaining. The fire is heated beyond reason. The sentence is real. Yet, in the furnace, they are not abandoned. A fourth figure appears with them, and the king who demanded worship must witness a greater presence than his own authority can command. Daniel teaches here that deliverance is glorious, but obedience is not built on guarantees. The faithful belong to God before rescue arrives. In Daniel 4, the proud king himself becomes the lesson. Nebuchadnezzar dreams again, this time of a great tree reaching to heaven, visible to the ends of the earth, sheltering creatures beneath its branches. Then the tree is cut down by divine decree. Daniel interprets the warning plainly. The king's greatness has grown, but his pride has risen with it. Unless he turns, he will be brought low. For a time the warning stands, and then the king walks on his palace roof and praises Babylon as though it were the work of his own majesty alone. Judgment falls at once. His reason departs, and he lives like a beast until he learns what every ruler must learn. The Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. When Nebuchadnezzar's understanding returns, so does his praise. The chapter closes not with despair, but with confession. God humbles the proud, yet even this humiliation is aimed toward the truth. Daniel 5 moves to Babylon's last night. Belshazzar holds a great feast, surrounded by nobles, wives, and concubines, drinking from the gold and silver vessels taken from the temple in Jerusalem. What had been consecrated to the worship of God is now used in careless mockery. In the midst of the celebration, a hand appears and writes on the palace wall. The room turns cold with fear. The king trembles, but once again Babylon's wisdom cannot read the judgment before it. Daniel is summoned, and he refuses the rewards before delivering the meaning. God has numbered the days of the kingdom, weighed the king in the balance, and found him wanting. The kingdom will be divided and given to the Medes and Persians. The message is brief, but its force is final. Babylon, which once looked invincible, falls in a single night. Daniel reminds the viewer that blasphemous power can feast under bright lights and still stand on the edge of collapse. Under Darius the Mede, Daniel continues to distinguish himself with an excellent spirit, and that faithfulness again provokes envy. Rival officials cannot find corruption in his public service, so they target the place where they know he will not bend: his devotion to God. They secure a royal decree that no one may petition any god or man except the king for 30 days. Daniel hears the decree, goes to his house, opens his windows toward Jerusalem, and prays as he had done before. The courage of this scene lies in its ordinary steadfastness. Daniel does not stage a spectacle. He simply refuses to let fear rewrite his life of prayer. The conspirators press the law, the den is sealed, and the king spends the night in grief. At dawn, he calls out in hope, and Daniel answers from within. God has sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths. Once more, the empire learns that the servant of the living God is not preserved by political favor, but by divine faithfulness. Daniel survives the den, yet the deeper witness is that his communion with God remained open long before the stone was rolled away. The second half of Daniel lifts the story from court conflict into apocalyptic vision. Here, the book turns symbolic, but not vague. Daniel sees beasts rising from a restless sea, images of kingdoms that devour, trample, and exalt themselves. Against them stands a throne above all thrones. The Ancient of Days takes his seat, judgment is set, and the chaos of empire is brought before a higher court. Then Daniel sees one like a son of man coming with the clouds of heaven, receiving dominion, glory, and an everlasting kingdom that will not pass away. The vision does not flatter earthly power, it reveals its limits. The later visions continue that pattern. The ram and the goat portray conflict among kingdoms. A proud ruler magnifies himself and brings suffering to the holy people. Daniel is shown seasons of distress, desecration, waiting, and warfare that reach beyond his own lifetime. In chapter 9, Daniel prays with confession and longing, asking God to remember mercy and restore what sin has ruined. In chapters 10 through 12, heavenly conflict and earthly struggle are set side by side, showing that history is deeper than what kings can see. Yet the final note is not panic, it is hope. Many who sleep in the dust shall awake, some to everlasting life, and the wise shall shine. Daniel is told that the words concern the future, but the book resists turning hope into spectacle. Its purpose is steadiness. God knows the end, God judges evil, and God's people are called to endure with understanding. Daniel is not merely a book about surviving Babylon, it is a book about seeing Babylon clearly. Empires promise security, identity, glory, and permanence, but Daniel strips away the illusion. Kings dream and tremble, idols fall, proud rulers are humbled, banquet halls become courtrooms, lions and flames do not have the last word. Above them all reigns the God of heaven, who gives wisdom to the faithful, hears prayer in exile, judges arrogance, and keeps his purposes moving toward a kingdom that will never be destroyed. That is why Daniel still speaks with such force. It teaches believers how to live when the world feels hostile, dazzling, or unstable. Not with fear, not with compromise, and not with sensational claims, but with reverent endurance. Faithfulness under pressure is possible because history itself remains in God's hands.